Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our lunchtime session, Startup Ecosystem 101. So this is really just popped into day one for everyone out there who's just dipping their toe into the world and just wanting to find out about who the different players are, what the different words and what the different roles mean. And so we've got a really beautiful array of representatives from across the Victorian ecosystem. So today we will be hearing from Judy Anderson, who's the CEO of Startup Vic, Deletta Legowo from Spark Deacon, Ayman Hamdouna from Hatch Quarter, Hans Chang from Fab9, as well as David Feldlecki from Backpicker. So the format for today will be just a lightning talk. So everyone will give a quick 5-minute presentation, and then we'll just come back to a quick Q&A at the very end. So to kick us off, just handing over to Judy Anderson.
Hi everyone, thank you so much, and thanks for everyone's patience while I got my slides up there. And hello, future founders. My name's Judy Anderson. I'm the CEO of Startup Victoria, and I'm really excited to be here today for a lightning talk on the startup ecosystem. If I cover anything too quickly today, given that it is a lightning fast talk, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly on Twitter at FastTrackJudy, or you can get in touch to Startup Victoria and the team there via our website as well. So what I'd love to cover today is a super quick 101 on the startup ecosystem and community here in Victoria. It's something that took me years to figure out. I've been in the role for just over 2 years now. So I've tried to cram everything I've learned over the last couple of years into now what's 4 minutes. So wish me luck. There we go. So Startup Vic, for those who haven't heard of us before, we are a non-for-profit community organisation that's set up in Victoria to help our local founders succeed. We believe that building a business can change your life and also change the lives of others. But it's really hard. How do you build a high-growth tech company when you've never done it before? Our job is, as the community leader and manager, to help connect you, the founder, to different players and support within the ecosystem here in Victoria and beyond. I'll explain a little later exactly how we do that and where we sit in the ecosystem. So a little bit of 101, I'm going to quickly, rapidly go through who are the key players or pillars within the ecosystem and give you a couple of examples. Certainly not enough time to go through all of them, but I'll go through the categories and you're going to hear from a couple of them after me as well. So the first category is founders and future founders. You are the lifeblood of the startup ecosystem. This entire industry wouldn't exist without entrepreneurs building businesses. So the core of the ecosystem is you, and everyone else in the ecosystem exists to support you, serve you, and work to help you succeed. So you're the main part, the community of entrepreneurs. The next one is investors. So some founders prefer to remain bootstrapped and build an independent lifestyle business. Others want to become a unicorn, and you need a lot of capital investment to get to that level of scale. So a lot of investors in the Victorian ecosystem, whether that's a traditional venture capital fund, angels, or other sort of debt lenders as well. So investors are a really key pillar of our ecosystem. Another key pillar is accelerators and incubators. So if you're doing it for the first time, building your business in a time-boxed, fast-paced environment where you've got education, access to mentors, and a cohort of other entrepreneurs working alongside you can help turbocharge your business. And we've got several of those within Victoria and across Australia as well. We have co-working spaces, again, another really key pillar of our ecosystem. This is where people come together. There's serendipity in the kitchen or on a Friday night drinks in the common space area. And for now, a lot of that is taking place online, and we're seeing our co-working spaces pivot to providing services to businesses virtually, another really key pillar. We also have universities and educators. So for entrepreneurial students who are looking to learn about startups or tech, a great space to actually learn how to code or learn the principles of entrepreneurship or how to build your business. And a lot of universities these days also run accelerator programs as well, and some do investment too. We have professional service providers, so your startup accountants, your lawyers, your brand professionals, people who can help you navigate grants and government incentives. They're also there as well, and they're a stack set up in Victoria that are designed just to service startups. Government also plays a key role. So whether that's the state government agency LaunchVic, Not to be confused with Startup Vic, they are a government agency as opposed to Startup Vic, and they help to fuel the growth. So they actually provide grant funding to a lot of the key ecosystem players here in Victoria, as well as some other government and local agencies who provide support to founders and small businesses. Corporates play a role as well, whether it's through a corporate incubator, investment, or being a first customer for enterprise-focused startups. Finishing off with some stats and stuff. So if you're curious, we've got around 2,025 startups in Victoria right now, about 146 investors and 14 unicorn companies. So if you're not quite sure what a unicorn is, if it's the first time you're hearing that, a unicorn is a startup that has reached a $1 billion valuation in US dollars. And we've got 14 of those in Victoria, which is pretty cool. That's actually the highest number in any state in Australia at the moment. In terms of some industries that we've got to focus on, health, education, agriculture, impact and for-purpose businesses and sports tech are some key pillars where we've got high startup density. Not to say we don't work in other areas, but there's somewhere we see a lot of startups coming out and solving big problems. The last thing I'll finish up with is a call for you to join the community. So this is where Startup Vic comes into play. We're kind of like the network manager across the ecosystem to help you, the founder, navigate through all of those different players and supporters. We run events, whether it's pitch nights, networking events, or education content, and most of them are free for the founder community. We have a Slack group we'd love for you to join. Again, it's free for you to jump in and get peer support from experts and other founders. We've got a weekly community newsletter where we wrap up all of the jobs, news and stories and events from the ecosystem into one weekly digest. And of course, we have membership as well. If you'd like to look at that, best place to head to is our website. So welcome to the community. That was wicked fast on everything, but over to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Judy. Putting the lightning into lightning talks. Just handing over to Diletta Lagowo from Spark Deakin.
All right, so I'm really stoked to be here today talking to you guys about how university startup programs and accelerators can help you. My role at Deakin as Marketing and Partnerships Coordinator of Spark Deakin is to make sure that we're reaching the programs and people who we want to be reaching, whether that's you guys as students, staff, mentors, and program partners. And I also produce events, write and design all the comms on Spark Deakin. And outside of that, I'm involved in some not-for-profits and host a podcast on creativity. So about 2.5 years ago, I was also in a position like many of you guys today. I came to Melbourne as an international student, doing postgrad. And after graduating, I struggled to get a job. So I end up making one. I ran my own design business for a year, which was really rewarding but hard. It was also a great learning experience. And that's why I think events like today and university startup programs are so important. Because it can be a challenging experience, and I've also been there on the other side. And we also know how much the workplace has changed today. I mentioned how hard it was for me to get a job. So I actually end up getting hired out of my own business by Deakin because I gave myself that work experience and built a portfolio over that year's period. And so the skills that they're looking for today, and this is based on research done by Foundation for Young Australians, are critical thinking, digital literacy, presentation skills, and they'll also think you're really cool if you're in a band. I'm just kidding. Creativity is a massive one, and it's also central to innovation. Blackbird Ventures recently launched a foundation that's giving out up to $5,000 in grants for creative projects run by founders under the age of 25, or if you're benefiting young people under the age of 25 as well. So these are the skills that will really make you stand out, and it's one of those. These capabilities are what we try to train up through university programs as well. At Spark Deakin, we run several programs, including a startup accelerator. And Judy mentioned this earlier. Some of you might go to other unis, so look up the different programs offered at your university. I've checked and made a list at the bottom here of some other universities that do have startup programs for entrepreneurs. And now, in terms of the accelerator itself, we recognize how it can be hard to grow your business. It's not necessarily a simple process. So the accelerator experience is like a turbo injection for those who want to propel their business's growth. And we work specifically with early stage startups who already have some level of traction. And basically, we give you guys what you need to grow. In terms of funding at universities, it's fantastic because we don't take equity in your business, whereas the more serious programs through venture capital, they will take some equity for the money that they invest into your business. We also pair you guys up with coaches and mentors who give you tailored advice specific to what you need. And these coaches are investment consultants, they're angel investors, and they're entrepreneurs themselves. And there are also amazing perks that university programs can link you to. For example, at Spark Deacon, each of our teams receive up to $20,000 of credits from Google Clouds for Startup, free access to Xero accounting software, so on and so forth. And the other thing I really wanted to highlight is just that, an introduction can go a long way. And a lot of our alumni have come back to us and said that two alumni of our accelerator program have gone off and received up to $250K of investment from Scalata Ventures. And one startup actually exited early from our accelerator because they got into the startup accelerator. And now they've received $1.5 million of investment from Blackbird Ventures, which is a fantastic result. And we love being able to be that bridge between you guys who are studying to, the real world and the startup world and the whole ecosystem that Judy was talking about earlier. So if you're still someone who's still starting out, I definitely recommend getting involved in your university startup program. There's so much you can learn from being a part of a community and having others to talk to. Judy Anderson was actually someone I met when I was running my own business, and she asked me how she could help. And I was too shy and nervous to reach out at the time, but I benefited a lot from stalking her on LinkedIn and stalking Startup Victoria. So don't be shy and nervous like me. These programs, they're your testing grounds or your playground, and everyone's keen to help. Thanks.
Thanks, Diletta. Now just calling on Ayman Hamdouna from Hatch Quarter.
Hi, everyone. Can you see me and see my screen? Excellent. So thank you for Judy and Diletta for the great presentation. My name is Ayman Hamdouna. I am the co-founder and CEO of Hatch Quarter, as well as a founding partner of MoWorks Creative Agency. I came to Australia 13 years ago as an international student, and I'm excited to be with you here today. First, I'd like to thank the Future Founder Festival, the Future Founder team for inviting me to join you, as well as the panelists who gave their time today with us. What I'd like to do today, as it's a one-on-one startup ecosystem presentation, I want to let you in on a secret that hasn't only impacted my whole life, it impacted and empowered the growth of my personal career, as well as the growth of my companies, MoWorks and Hatch Quarter. To do this, I want to ask you all a question to think of. When I say startup, what do you think of? Do you think of 100 million funding round? Do you think of unicorns, as Judy has presented what unicorns means to us? Or do you think of failures? The truth is 90% of startups do fail in the first 2 years, and most of them don't make it past the third year of their life cycle. And there are two reasons that we see common within these failures. First, they build a service or a product nobody cares about or not enough people want to use. And the second is the lack of access to funding, lack of access to the right network, which is presented to you here today. And you should take advantage of those networks to build a great startup. So before that, let me start by introducing Hatch Quarter. So we started Hatch Quarter in 2015 to bridge the gap between international and local entrepreneurs through unlocking the talent within the diverse ecosystem and the talent within the diverse community. We started that throughout out of our creative agency, and we believe in equal opportunity. We have a global mindset of how we want to connect startups. Today, we offer programs to founders and innovators. We offer data-driven solutions to businesses, corporates, public sector. And finally, we offer access to key stakeholders from the investor community, as well as government and corporate personnel. Some of the startups we are proud to work with come from several industries from all over the world. So we worked with startup here in Australia. You may know some of the names you can see on the screen, and we worked with startups from overseas, such as UK, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and the US. Those come from a variety of industries and variety of technologies. And we are able to do so because of the diverse skill set that we have within our team. And here is the list of the team that work with me. We don't do it alone. Obviously, we have an ecosystem of partners that we lean on when we want to help the founders that we work with. Again, we don't do it again. We don't do it alone. And today you have heard from Judy and you have heard from Delita. The startup ecosystem in Victoria is maturing exponentially, and there are multiple sources of information. Startup Victoria is one of the best places you can find information from, and other players within the market. So the secret I wanted to share with you today is simple, and many of you may already know. It is your mindset. It's the way you approach the problems will allow you to find the solution for them. And you as international students or audience of our presentation today possess many of those attributes that you will require in order to be successful in the startup ecosystem. It is simple. If you approach a challenge that you will not be able to solve it, you won't be able to solve it. If you are able to approach the challenge with a mindset that you will be able to approach to solve it, then you are going to solve this problem. As international students, some of us here may be international students as well watching us today. You have the attributes of the ambition. Moving to a new country by itself is a great achievement, and I'm sure you have been dreaming of that for a long time. You're resilient. Resilience is a very important attribute. Many fail and need to stand up and keep going. You need to make it regardless of the challenges in front of you. You bring a great perspective into the conversation, given that you come from international market, and that's one key element that needed in the startup ecosystem. And finally, your international connection could be a great value to startup teams or to solve a challenge that you may have seen other places in the world. So this is what I want to leave you with today. I am happy to answer any of your questions. Here is my contact details, and I wish you the best of luck in your journey in the startup ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Eamon. From a co-working space to a maker space with Hans.
Hello, can you see my screen? You can hear me, right? Okay, so thank you for having me. My name is Hans Chen. I was once an international student. I was studying in California, and I worked for a company called SanDisk, so a semiconductor company in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I discovered a wonderful thing called the maker space, which I'll tell you more about when I was in Silicon Valley. And I moved to Australia at the end of 2015. And I was very fortunate that I received a very generous grant from LaunchVic. And I think that speaks to the Victorian state's, I guess, support for the ecosystem. So as a maker space, or you might also hear the term Fab Lab or Fabrication Lab. Our mission is really simple. Our mission is really allowing founders who are tinkering with a physical product. So when I talk about physical product, you can think about everything that's not just software. So if you're building an app, I think you probably can go to a co-working space. But if you're building, say, underwater robot, then oftentimes you don't have the facility, the space, right, and the tools, and also the knowledge of turning your concept into prototypes. So that's why we exist. Just to show you a photo. Sorry, before I show you a photo, for founders who are new to kind of the startup world, I will highly recommend a book, or the books by Clayton Christensen. So he recently passed away, but he's written some really famous books. So I think some of those industries that I actually have personally worked in. So for example, flash memory, was disrupting kind of the disk, right? The first iPhone. Actually, before iPhone, the first iPad actually was iPad, iPod. Sorry, excuse me. The music was actually had a spinning hard disk, and obviously flash memory took over, and the form factor of a flash memory allowed innovations that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the small form factor. So this is quite interesting, and I think some of you probably are thinking about creating products and services that will allow people to do the job for themselves. So again, I highly recommend that if it's one thing you take away from this talk is read some books around innovation and startup ecosystem, lean startup. So a quickly overview of what a maker space consists of. We have 5 different areas. So we have timber shop, a full timber shop. We have assembly area. That's where people put things together. We have a CNC lab for a CNC router, digital fabrication, laser cutter, 3D printers, and a small electronics area. So we don't have everything. But if you are prototyping ideas and you want to turn that into kind of physical, tangible products, a makerspace is a good place for that. And in addition to the facility, we also run events. So we have the monthly show and tell event, first Friday of each month, and now it's all fully online, where we talk to physical product founders, usually making a robot, or can be, for example, EV motorcycle, things like that. And I just want to end my talk on this particular slide. I think starting a company is really, really difficult. If you want to start a physical product company, I think it's even more difficult than starting a software company. So being able to access a community is really important, because many times you will have challenges that may not be your domain of expertise. So for example, you might be an industrial engineer, designer, but you don't necessarily have skills in embedded electronics. So it is very important to find a community who can help you and support you along the way. So that's all I have. Again, my contact details are here. Please join our Instagram if you want to see what we do, and happy to talk to students or international students who are wishing to start their own company, either in this country or in other countries. So yeah, very happy to be here. Look forward to connecting with some of the students. Great.
Thanks, Hans. And finally, to wrap it up, we're going from large all the way to, I guess, the people that the lifeblood, as Judy started with, of the whole ecosystem, which are the founders. So just calling upon David Fivelaki from Backpicker.
Hi, everyone. I'll just wait for the slide to... So before I get started, I just want to ask everyone out there just to grab a pen. And if you have an idea and you haven't started your business, write down your idea and it'll make sense when I get to the end. So my name is Dave Fivelaki. I'm the co-founder of an online job search platform called Backpicker, where we envision to minimise the risk of exploitation of migrant workers in Australia. So a bit about my story is my parents migrated from Tonga back in 1975 to a small town called Romvale. The population was 1,500, and my hobbies were playing sport and socialising with family and friends. And on the weekends and school holidays, I'd be mowing lawns for pocket change and also working on the farm with my parents. Next slide, please. So at the age of 15, I moved away to Bendigo to play football in the TAC Cup and the VFL while I was completing VCE, which is year 11 and 12. My first job was working at Hungry Jack's on the night shift, cleaning pans, pots, making burgers. And after that, I decided I wanted to complete a trade. So when I finished my trade at the age of 21, I started my own business, and I grew that business until I had the opportunity to start work in fly in, fly out across Australia in the mining industries, where I worked across 5 states with every culture from across the world on some of the largest projects in Australia. What I realised is that all these experiences that I had from teenage through to my early adulthood was opportunities. I was always saying yes to opportunities. I wasn't saying no. And what happened there from those experiences, it translated over to when we started to work on Backpicker, which is a totally different industry that I'm used to. But what I recommend is go out, try try everything. Don't say no to opportunities or experiences, whether it's going to karaoke and you're not a singer, just do it. You never know who you're going to meet there, and the networks and the people you're going to meet. And what I found out is through all my failures and all my mistakes that I made, I've come to realize that your failures are just things that are going to build you, make you stronger, and they just replace failures with learnings, replace mistakes with learnings, and understand that things will get better, whether it's a mistake that you've made. The next day, you've got another chance, 24 hours to improve. Always wake up in the morning with myself, with cold calls. When I first started, I just wanted to put my head down and start crying like a turtle. So wake up every morning saying, okay, I've got to improve, and then you'll find yourself slowly getting better. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint to get from A to B to become a unicorn. Unicorns, it's a lot of work, a lot of effort. So if you want to hear more about the platform we're building, we're going to be reaching out to international students, because we understand that 1 in 3 international students in Australia get bring these guys in to help us develop this platform so we can set a new industry standard. My contact details are on the screen. And just to finish off with the idea I mentioned in the beginning, what I want you to do, the idea, think of that problem, find 10 businesses that you think have that problem, reach out to them, have a chat, and just take action on your idea. So thank you for your time, and take care.
Thank you, David. Just a very practical, I guess, outcome of this talk. We're just going to jump into a bit of a panel discussion in our remaining time. So if I ask all the panelists to just put their thinking caps on, we have the privilege of having just such depth of experience and perspectives. So just a quick fire, just jump in if you have thoughts. Just starting around, I guess we've talked a lot about community and then the individual. In your opinions, what kind of person do you feel makes a successful entrepreneur or a startup founder? Who would like to take that one?
Happy to jump in. So my experience working with founders at Startup Vic across the community, the one trait that I would say the most successful founders have in common is this maniacal obsession with like building their business, and like they love their customers, they love their product, like they truly believe in what they're building, because you're going to get a lot of no's, and you're going to get a lot of people, particularly if you are being quite innovative and you're breaking the mold and you're doing something new and you're doing something different, a lot of people that maybe can't see what you see. So that passion and that vision is definitely something they all have in common.
Yeah. Anyone else on the panel like to jump in?
Yeah, I've come across with some early stage founders within the makerspace, and like what Judy just mentioned, some people have been going at this idea for over 10 years. So it's not something I think having an idea in itself doesn't translate into success. Like what David just said before, like taking steps and really going after your idea and talking to people, and don't just have this thought bubble in your head dreaming about success. Go out to the real world, talk to people, and see if other people care about the problem that you're trying to solve. I think that's really, really important. It's a market validation early.
Yeah, I think just touching on that community aspect, it's like you can have your idea in your head. The Future Females panel earlier had spoke about trying to strive for perfectionism, and then that paralyzes you to taking action and moving to community. That's where you get your idea and then start to talk to other people about, and that's scary. But on that community aspect, something I'm very passionate about. It's in my title, has been for a few roles I've had. I love the Victorian ecosystem and the Victorian community. I'll champion our ecosystem to my dying breath. What makes Victoria so special for starting? Maybe Diletta as one of the program operators.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think being someone who's only just arrived in Victoria in the last, 4 years, I've been able to view it through fresh eyes as well. I think what's really unique about it is the enthusiasm that people have to support one another and the funding that's just available for the organizations who are providing that support. When I was starting my design business, I was able to access a free co-working space at the Foundation for Young Australians, which is where I met you on. And then, as Judy mentioned, the ecosystem support organizations, they're just thriving.
Eamon, do you have similar thoughts about what
Thank
makes
you.
like
Yes,
the Victoria
yes.
aspect?
Yes, absolutely. So we are all lucky to be able to start here in Victoria, as Dilita and Judy, as well as Hans and David have highlighted. The ecosystem in Victoria is maturing. Everyone is trying to contribute, and we have amazing energy within the ecosystem. Everyone is passionate about what they want to do. And you will notice that as a startup, you will be able to work with multiple ecosystem providers or supporters at the same time, and they will all collaborate to help you succeed and achieve your goals rather than compete with each other. And I think we have few case studies of startups going from an accelerator to another until they have received the funding they have. So there are multiple support systems there here in Victoria that you can take advantage of. We can see from the COVID situation and the response of the government as well that we live in an economically stable environment and the government is supporting the innovation. So I believe that we are lucky to be in Victoria and to be able to start in Victoria.
I'm just touching on that funding. I guess we're going a million miles an hour. So early stage, straight to funding. What do you do next? Like thoughts maybe from you, David, with ideas of like bootstrapping versus getting external investment down the track. Once you've started, how should one plan to scale?
I guess in my experience, in the early stage, while you're trying to find market fit, you want to be bootstrapping it, and you want to leave going out finding investment as late as you can, so you can control as much and sell as less equity of your business. And you're going to have so many iterations in between idea to MVP through to finding market fit. So I'll just really focus on the problem, really dig in deep, and get a broader view of what the problem is. So then you can start to create solutions. Don't go out thinking about the solution too early. Think about the problem, the pain points of all the broader view of your potential customers. And that's where I would start. To be honest, that's I'll be just focusing on the problem. Investment will down the road once you've started to get 12 months of revenue and a steady growth month in, month out. But yeah, I guess that's my point of view at an early stage.
Does anyone have a similar point of view or different? There's a lot of opinions. Go jump in.
No, Judy, please go ahead first and I'll follow.
Thanks, Eamon. So polite. Appreciate that. So yes, Victoria's nice. So I think I definitely echo what David was saying about like just get your product market fit right first before you think about golden handcuffs to investors. The main piece of advice I would have is if you're thinking about getting external investment is before you go down that path, just make sure you're really clear on what you actually like, what your goal is. Why are you starting this business? What kind of lifestyle are you actually trying to achieve? Because different channels of investment and basically bringing capital into your business to help you grow, it's really a question of how do you actually want your business to be? And as a founder, what kind of life do you want? So for example, do you want control? Like, are you starting this business because you want independence? If that's why you're starting your business, you probably don't want to go down the traditional VC route because then you are accountable to external parties and board members and things like that. Whereas if your objective is you want to create thousands of jobs for Australian and help boost the economy and you do want to scale quite quickly and you do want to become the next culture amp or Atlassian, then you're probably going to need external investment. I think it's just really anchoring yourself in like what type of business do you want to build, what type of life do you want to lead as a founder, what your motivations are for starting a business, and then consider what the different type of capital is for you. And it's not just about investment in exchange for equity. There are other financing options. And if you're curious to learn more about that, there's heaps of content with Startup Big we can share with you.
Absolutely. So you have covered everything I almost wanted to cover. So I will summarize in one sentence. Funding journey is different from a founder to another, and it depends on their access to network and resources, as well as the lifestyle they want to build in the future. There are multiple theories or tools to allow you to understand the funding life cycle and the funding round, but honestly, it differs from a founder to another, and basically based on their background. That is unfortunate and lucky in the same time. It depends how you look at it.
Thanks so much. And that was really a part of the impetus behind running this entire festival. It's like starting a business, starting a startup's hard enough. And I guess there's some added barriers for the international student community or the migrant community that face. Just in the last remaining time, just a quick whip around to all 5 speakers. What's that one piece of advice that you've heard, that the best piece of advice that has been given to you, imparted to you about just the startup life that has become a bit of a mantra that you've held on to? Maybe start with Hans.
Yeah, I'll go first. I heard this a while ago. I can't remember where it came from. Basically, never waste a good crisis. So that's probably one thing that helps me, especially going through obstacles. There's always the positive or the opportunity in that situation, including COVID, right?
Great, thanks, Hans. Valletta?
Yeah, I'll go. I think the energy flow into your business is just as important as the cash flow. And, look after this with your own self-care and take a strength-based approach as well. So if you know you're a gun at something, rock that, and then see what you can outsource or get help with from others and collaborate.
Amazing.
I will go quickly. It's all about the community you build, not the actual product. If you have a good community around you, you will be able to overcome any obstacle. So good luck to all of you. I am more than happy to be part of your community and welcome you to my community.
Great. David, any thoughts?
I guess the idea of having to have money to get your idea to MVP stage is not the case. MVP for me, as an online job recruitment platform, is pretty much a spreadsheet of business owners and job seekers and just matching the two. That's my MVP. Just a spreadsheet. For a physical product, it could be a design. There's a lot of software out there. You can design shirts and put your design on there, and then you can get pre-sales. Also, if it's an app or a website, you can use a product called Figma and just get a prototype out there, and just see what the feedback is on that product, and that's your MVP. You've gone from idea to MVP for no money at all.
Just get started seems to be the message. And finally, to wrap up, Judy, any passing thoughts about the best advice that you've received?
Yeah, can I just break the rules and just rapid fire off a few, echoing everything that everyone else has already said, definitely, especially Dee, on resilience and mental health. So move fast and just break shit. Things are going to break if you're going to be moving fast, and that's just part of the course. If what you're putting out to your customers or an MVP you feel really proud of, then you've taken way too long. So just move fast, break stuff. The next one would be just focus. And make sure you are being really disciplined in working on what truly matters rather than what feels good or feels easy, and trying to avoid vanity progress. Make sure that if there's so much ahead of you to go from idea to business, just choose the one thing that's going to make the most amount of progress, whether it's something to learn, something to prove, or something to communicate. Focus on one thing each day and just do that one thing. And eventually in a year's time, you'll be where you want to be.
Great. Well, that's all we have time for today. Just wanted to thank all the speakers. Thank you so much for your time, for your lunchtime, to jump in here and just inspire the next generation of amazing Victorian founders.